Okay, let's go and have a look at our first bit of science today with try this at home.
Try this at home. Try this at home.
Okay, so this one today, we're going to have a look at eye dominance. Your brain prefers one eye over the other. Sounds weird, doesn't it? But your eyes, your brain kind of prefers to kind of use one eye for different types of task. And we can kind of find out which eye your brain prefers with a little experiment called the Miles experiment. So what I want you to do is put your kind of thumb and finger together in a triangle, a bit like if you've seen that band Ange de Pointine that have that kind of really weird guitar and they wear really weird kind of outfits. It's a bit like they do that at the start and they make a little triangle. And I want you to put your hands and arms out in front of you so your arms are straight, not kind of like this. So out dead straight, look, and I want you to kind of pick something on the wall like a clock or just something on the other side of the room, and I want you to put whatever it is you're looking at in the middle of your triangle, okay? And you want to keep your head dead still. I don't want you kind of turning your head like this when we're doing this experiment. You've got to keep it dead straight, okay? So hands like this, look at something across the room, and I want you to close one eye. I know some people struggle with this, okay? They might kind of have to kind of get someone to cover their eye with their hand. But you just kind of put your hands like this, look at something through the center of the triangle, and then close one eye, okay? Open it and then close the other eye and open it. And what should happen is whatever you're looking at will either stay in the middle or it will jump to one side, okay? So you want to, like this, close one eye, then close the other eye, and see if what you're looking at stays in the middle or jumps. Now the eye, okay, that is open, and whatever it is you're looking at stays in the middle, that is your dominant eye. That is the eye your brain prefers to kind of use. It kind of prefers information coming from that eye. So when I do that experiment and I close my left eye, so my right eye is open, my camera stays in the middle of my triangle. If I close my right eye and use my left eye to look, it jumps to the one side. So I know my right eye is the dominant eye. Now for some of you, you might be doing this, and when you close either eye, whatever you're looking at stays in the middle on both, or it jumps on both. That's what we call equal dominance. Your brain has an equal preference over each eye. It doesn't really have a preference. Okay, it's called equal dominance. And this is called the Miles experiment to figure out which eye your brain prefers when looking at things and focusing on things. It's pretty cool, isn't it? So that is the eye dominance test, or the Miles experiment. Pretty cool. Let me know if you're watching live or in the chat which eye you were dominant with. I'd kind of love to know which one it was, okay? Right, let's go and have a look at something really, really cool. It's called, whoops days, I've jumped ahead. We're going to have a look at some ECGs, okay? ECGs and arrhythmias. And I'm going to play you a couple of ECGs, and I want you to have a look at if you think they're normal or not. So I'm going to play the first one for you. So this is an ECG. These are the electrical signals that make your heart beat. It's called an electrocardiogram. It's that wavy line you see on TV shows, okay? So we go, look at this. So that is a normal ECG. I'll kind of make this a little bit bigger, and it will kind of loop through and keep playing on here. So this is a normal ECG. It's the electrical signals that make your heart contract, okay? It's pretty cool, isn't it? Okay. Now watch this, that is normal. See if you can spot the abnormal heartbeat on this next one. Can you see it? It'll play through again. It's quite obvious, isn't it? It's right above my head, right back there, isn't it? There you go. That one just there. That is an arrhythmia. And that arrhythmia is from my heart. It's from an ECG I recorded from my heart a few years ago. And it's called a premature ventricular contraction, or a PVC for short. And these funny contractions happen to most adults every day. So if you're an adult watching this and you feel like your heart does like a little kind of double bump in their chest, okay, it's one of these. It's a premature ventricular contraction. And if you look closely, you can see how those two heartbeats, the normal one here, and then the abnormal one, they're really close together, they're squished together. Whereas the other heartbeats are kind of really spread out, they're kind of further across. So we know this heartbeat has happened too early. But if you notice something else about this little arrhythmia, look at the spike. That spike on a normal heartbeat is called a QRS, and it's when your ventricles contract. Pretty much, it's a signal that makes your ventricles contract and push blood out of the heart. Okay, it's pretty awesome. Okay, but that other one there, if you look at the spike, it actually goes down. It's upside down. Okay, and that tells us that the signal is going the wrong way through the heart. So I'll go into a bit more detail about the way these signals move in a minute, but I want to show you what this looks like on an actual ultrasound. When we actually can see the heart as an image on the screen, we can have a look at how that works. So this is an abnormal heartbeat called a premature ventricular contraction. Check this out. So that there is my heart beating. And if you look closely, it beats normally, bump, 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 okay? Now watch this. It goes bump, 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 bump. Do it again. Bump, 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 bump. That's what the arrhythmia actually looks like, that little kind of bump, bump, okay? Watch this, we can do both at the same time. So we can do ECG and ultrasound. And I recommend watching the ultrasound image and just trying to see the ECG kind of in your peripheral vision, okay? So if you kind of watch, happens quite quick, but you can see that double bump, 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 bump. It's pretty cool, isn't it, that you can see that kind of happening in real time. When we see an arrhythmia happening on an ECG, there is actually something physical happening to the heart. Now these are completely normal, and they happen more often if you're stressed, anxious, tired, nervous, excited, if you've had energy drinks. This is one of the reasons why energy drinks have a age limit on them, because we can get more of these premature ventricular contractions, these early contractions happening if you've got stimulants in your body like caffeine and kind of that taurine, all that kind of stuff that stimulates your body with those energy drinks can actually have an effect on your heart. And if you're a little bit too young for these energy drinks, it can have a serious impact on your heart, okay? So check this out. This is what's happening with this really weird ECG, okay? So in a normal ECG, a normal heartbeat, the signal starts in your pacemaker where that yellow dot is, and the signal goes across from the right atria into the kind of left atria, and it makes those two kind of contract at the top and push blood down into your ventricles. And then you can see, though, I put those other arrows on there, the signal goes down the middle of the heart called the septum, or the bundle of His. It gets down to the bottom and then it goes up the sides of the walls of the ventricles called the Purkinje fibres, and it makes the ventricles contract from the bottom and squeezes all the blood up out the kind of top of the ventricles into the arteries that go to your lungs and to your body, the pulmonary artery and your aorta. Okay, so that's the normal route. But we've got a group of cells in our ventricles, or most people do, called an ectopic pacemaker. Okay, an ectopic pacemaker, and you can kind of see that blue dot I've put on there. So these are a group of cells that will also fire a signal to make your heart beat. Okay, but these cells fire at a very slow rate, at about 30 to 40 beats a minute, very, very slow, whereas your normal pacemaker up in the right atria fires at 60 to 80 beats per minute. So these kind of weird kind of ectopic cells that can generate an electrical signal, they kind of get wiped out by the normal heart signals. They never get a chance to kind of get their signal out there to make their heart beat. But every now and then, one will sneak through. and they can kind of be stimulated to kind of be stronger or fire more regularly with all those things I talked about earlier, being stressed, tired, anxious, having adrenaline, cortisol, caffeine, taurine, those stimulants, all in your body can make them fire and kind of happen a bit more regularly, so they actually sneak through. And you can see the direction of the signals. They kind of go down and go back up the heart. They go the wrong way. So on our previous image, you can see the signals go down the middle and back up the sides, whereas on this one, they go back the opposite way and back up. And that's why that ECG, this one here, looks like it's upside down. That QRS, where you've got that spike up, that's a normal signal. And when the spike goes like that and points down, we know the signal's gone the wrong way through the heart. So that's what we can do with an ECG. And when we talk about someone having an arrhythmia, that's what one might look like. Now, there are lots and lots of different types of arrhythmia that we can have. In fact, an ECG, there's not just one ECG we can do. We can do 12 different versions of an ECG. And there are 12 different wavy lines that we can look at. And each wavy line is looking at the heart from a different angle. So I've got a heart on my side. I have, yeah. There we go. I've just got a random heart. There we go. So we can actually kind of stand in a different position around the heart and watch these electrical signals move through the heart in the contraction cycle. And each position that we can look at the heart from has got its own kind of specific pattern that we can look for. So the pattern here will be one shape, the pattern over here will be one shape, and the pattern over here will be a different shape. They're like a standardized pattern that we look for. And if one of those is abnormal, we know it's that bit of the heart that's kind of abnormal. All right? If you've got any questions, drop them in the chat. So we've got people watching on TikTok at the moment. We've got quite a few watching on Instagram, I think, at the moment. If you've got any questions, drop them in the chat if you want to ask anything. I'm happy to answer them as we go through. Okay, so that is an arrhythmia, and ECGs. So now what we're going to have a look at is what are you looking at?
What a ride! What about? What are you looking at? What are you looking at?
Right, okay. I know if you're watching on kind of TikTok or Instagram, the kind of orientation hasn't kind of worked out for those little intro segments there. I'm working on that. I'll be kind of up to kind of speed next week. So we're going to look at a couple of ultrasounds of blood vessels in my neck. So a couple of rules here you need to kind of understand when you're looking at these ultrasounds. These are scans and ultrasounds that create an image as if you were standing above me looking down my neck. So it's like you've taken my head off and you're going to look down my head and through into my neck. Okay, so it's like you've kind of taken a slice out and you're going to look at it on the screen like that. Right? And we're looking for a black circle first of all. Anything black on an ultrasound is liquid. That's the first little bit of a clue. So looking in my neck and we're looking for a black circle. And anything black on an ultrasound is typically liquid. Let's have a look. So you see it right there, right in the middle. I do point, I think, there we go, little video clip playing, it does point across. Okay. And that pulsing you can see, what does that kind of suggest it is? What do you think? That there is my carotid artery. So if you feel the pulse in your neck, if you find your trachea and come up and go back a little bit, you'll feel your pulse. It's not round here like they do on TV shows. You go up the side of the trachea and then back a little bit and you'll feel that pulse. All right, that's what we're looking at right here. That is the carotid artery in my neck. Now you put your little finger up. That is roughly the width of this artery. Just roughly, okay, kind of a rough idea of how big this is. That's taking blood up to the right side of my brain, and the one on the left goes up to the left side of my brain. That's oxygenated blood going up. Now watch this, we're going to go the opposite way now, and an opposite to the artery is a vein. Now veins are very different structures to arteries. Arteries are kind of rigid, circular structures, very muscular. Blood in there is really high pressure, so it pushes out on the walls and you get this circular shape. Veins, on the other hand, are really floppy, right? Just like if you look at the back of your hand, the veins on the back of your hand might not be kind of popped up, they might be flat. They might be kind of popping up, they might be flat. And if they are popped up, basically there's more blood in them. We've got a bigger blood volume kind of making them pop up. And we can do the same with any vein in our body. We can put more blood in them to make them kind of pop up a little bit. And the way you make the jugular vein in your neck pop up is you take a deep breath and you strain like you're on the toilet having a massive poo. Right, okay. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this live. I'm going to put this on my neck. I put the ultrasound on my neck and I go like this, and you should see the jugular appear. Let's take a look. So we go 1, 2, 3. So I'm straightening, and that is the jugular appearing on the screen right now. Look at the size difference. It'll just replay over and over this for a little bit. But you can see the carotid artery, that's about the size of your little finger. And then the jugular is probably the size of your thumb, or maybe a little bigger than your thumb. Okay, it's pretty awesome, isn't it, that? And that, although what's happening there, blood is going up the carotid artery into my brain, delivering the oxygen, picking up the carbon dioxide, coming out of my brain, down the jugular vein in my neck. But because the pressure in my chest is so high, because I'm straining like that, the blood can't get past this point. So the blood's going up and pouring round, and it's just filling up that vein. Just filling it up, and it opens up and opens up like you can see on the screen. Now, if I was to kind of do that for a long time, I'd get blood vessels bursting in my brain. You know, it's not a good thing to do. So you kind of have to stop doing it. And you would automatically stop doing that because it's just not possible to kind of hold your breath and strain for that long. But you can see when we do that, it opens up that jugular. And this is something that a vascular scientist would do to look at the size and shape of these blood vessels in your neck, because they should be certain dimensions, they should be certain sizes. Okay. It's pretty awesome, isn't it? You can see this on an ultrasound. Everyone thinks ultrasound is just for babies and looking at kind of fetal scans and sonograms of babies. But actually, you know, 95% of ultrasounds are done on different parts of the body on both men and women. It's pretty cool, isn't it? I love seeing this. I love doing this live as well. But that is your jugular and your carotid artery in your neck. Okay. So that brings this week's episode of Monday Night Medicine to a close. Next week, I think, what are we going to do next week? I think we're going to look at temperature. We've got an experiment where you look at temperature between hot and cold things. So you can't really do it live. But if you want to do it live, what you need are 2 bowls, one with warm water, like hot water, like bath water, and then one with cold water, 2 different bowls. You can do it with little bowls to put your fingers in or big bowls to put your hands in. We're going to do an experiment on that, and we're going to look at why or how our body monitors temperature in our skin and in our brain. So that's next week's Monday. So that's it for this week. Join us next week, 7:15 on Monday nights on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and YouTube for Monday Night Medicine, and we'll be looking at temperature and how our body detects it and controls it inside our body. See you then. Bye.
Monday medicine, Monday night medicine, Monday night medicine.